What do you think can drive that so-called adoption into crypto?
My first focus would be gambling. My biggest bet in crypto, 100%. People are focusing more on the financial side of things. That's number one. And that's where the interest in, like right now.
What you're most excited about in Web3 specifically in the next 6 months to a year?
The market is changing a lot. The governments are reacting in a way that we've never seen before. So I would say that's the most important and the biggest thing.
Efe Kuchuk, the head of gaming at Trellitech, a center of excellence driving adoption in core technology on the Tezos blockchain.
They build Web3 solutions for institutions, brands, and users.
What were some of the commonalities that you saw in the games that you personally saw success in?
It's always easier to either replicate something existing in the market and improve it, which is what I did with my game idea, or you see a current opportunity and you have to build it fast and then you are in the correct time in the market.
What do you think needs to be fixed for Web3 gaming to go into a better direction?
I think first of all of the chain foundations need to stop throwing money to compete. I think chains need more content, but the money needs to get smarter. It couldn't be just like one chain's decision. It needs to be mutual.
What is one resource that you found most useful to yourself over the last few years?
I believe that English will be the biggest coding language in the next 3 years, so you need to get started now. If you haven't tried, you need to.
Welcome back to the Lock-In or Log-Off podcast, where I speak to builders, creators, and investors to understand how they spotted the opportunity and how they navigated their way to success. Today, we're going to be diving into understanding how to create your own business at a young age, the world of Web3 gaming, and the world of gaming chains in Web3 specifically. Today, I'm joined by Efe from Tezos. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I mean, the market's on and up. I think the sentiment overall is pretty good. I think a lot of excitement. ETH is finally pumping. What everyone's been hoping for.
Yeah.
How are you finding the market right now?
Honestly, for me, I try to not focus so much on the market, but it's impossible to do so, I guess. So yes, it's been happy a few 1-2 weeks. So I think we're just having more and more interest in the industry, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, it's nice to see both. I think it's primarily institutional at the moment.
Yeah.
I think we'll start to see more retail, hopefully, at some point. But before we go into Web3 specifically, I'd like to understand a little bit of your background pre-Web3 and kind of what has gotten you to where we are now. Are you able to give a bit of background for people who don't know you?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So I'm Efe. I'm Turkish, born and raised in Istanbul, which is one of the biggest reasons I'm in gaming, because it's became like a big hub for gaming at the moment. So I'm 26. I started in gaming basically since I started working at 18, and back in the days, I started first in the esports side of things in a startup, and then I switched into game publishing, which is the marketing side of the games and monetization. And then after I gotten some experience, I went in and started my own game studio. For around 3 years, I ran a game studio in Turkey, which was around 30 people at the time. We had a few strong games, completely focused on mobile. And at the same time, I ran an incubator called Game Factory for 3 years as well, which was also relatively successful, which is still actually active. It's one of the biggest incubators in Europe at the moment, but it's completely focused on game industry, nothing Web3, I would say. After that, I started exploring more and more Web3 after I left the company, and yeah, right now I'm working at Trellitech, a Tezos ecosystem company, as a head of gaming. So what I do is sort of try and set the strategy of gaming on Tezos and help others reach success and build successful games. So
yeah, I think that's a fascinating story, especially coming from such a Web2 gaming background.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people on CT or in Web3 don't come from a background that understands the traditional gaming world as much. Are you able to give some insights of what it was like to run that studio? Obviously, you mentioned you had a few big hits, but what were some of the lessons you had from that time?
Yeah, so honestly, it was quite a painful time. It was the moment where mobile gaming started to grow a lot, and we were doing what we call hyper casual games, which are, I think, comparable with the games that you play in the toilet or when you're waiting in the queue. They're sort of silly, basic, simple games, but they were monetizing well. Anyway, I've tried over maybe 60, 70 game ideas when I started, right? The studio in the first year probably. Obviously, we were pushing a prototype every 2 weeks, market that and see if there's any interest, any retention, people watching ads or not, and then depending on that, we would drop and move on to the next thing. So psychologically, it was really draining until we found the first hit, which was it's called Ground Digger. if you played like web games when you were younger, you know where I got the inspiration from. But anyway, that game was a massive success. It still has around like nearly 1 million monthly active users today. And in total, I think it's gone over 30, 40 million or something like that. So it was like quite a big hit. But the biggest thing here is that we had a methodology in Web2 gaming, right? It's very simple. You make a game, you make a simple prototype. If it's profitable, you go ahead.
Yep.
If it's not profitable, you dump the project, move on to the next thing. But in Web3 gaming, especially if you are working more on the more with foundations and chains and stuff like that, what I'm seeing is some game studios have a business model of getting grants. That's like what they do. I generally think they don't care about like monetization when they start, or they have a monetization model where they dump on other people or get grants. So
They sell digital assets, NFT sales, token sales, something like that.
yeah, and then obviously then you don't have any like much successful titles. So unfortunately that's one reality, and that was the biggest thing that surprised me. Like I've seen so many ghost games, like literally, usually, sorry my language, shitty games, or like they've been building it for like 5 years or so, but they are somehow alive, and then you're thinking like, how do they sustain or stay alive? It's just like they're jumping chains every month. So it's like it's a different industry than the actual gaming industry, I would say.
Interesting. Do you think that's because they get those grants to get that funding from one concept, so they think that they have to keep with that one concept, as well as obviously some of these people sell NFTs around and they build a community around this vision, and then they're kind of stuck and tied towards that? Do you think it's like that's a big factor in why they basically just stick with the one instead of actually playing it the right way and like cutting losses and moving on?
I think that's a great point, by the way. That's one reality. So if you're building a game and then the first thing you do, which usually happens, like you build like a prototype, or even before doing that, sometimes they go ahead and start doing an ICO, right? Like, or to raise some funds, or like selling tokens or some digital assets and stuff like that. And then when you launch the game, let's say you launch the game and you're not able to monetize, right? Everything is going bad. Maybe people don't like the game. Maybe it's not a good game, which is something like super, super common. Like games is a business where you either it's 1 or 0. Either you have a hit or it's not working out. Like you can see tons of games with millions in budgets and maybe they shut it down in 3 months because it's not working out. Anyway, if you're in that scenario where you already launched your tokens and NFTs, maybe like then it becomes a challenge to drop the project. Then because you've sold people something with lots of promises, and then if you dump them, you know it will go to 0, and then you are basically responsible for it, right? So it puts you in a quite different position than Web2.
Web2, it's your money that's going into it, and you basically waiting for. Obviously, you might have invested money, but it's slightly different. Where in this case, you actually have your players and your community investing money in you. And
people have different expectations.
Different expectations, and also it's a lot more front facing, right? It's like if you cut a game in Web2, you're not gonna you get a little bit of backlash from Reddit or something like that, but you're not gonna have people that you've built a relationship with in the community. That like it's such a double-edged sword of like Web3 community in that way, in the way that like they think. Yeah, you very much become very close with them, but then it kind of blurs the line of what's best for the business.
Absolutely.
Which I think is fascinating in Web3 gaming specifically. But before we go further into the Web3 gaming side, because I think there's a lot we can kind of dive into, kind of from your experience when you had your own gaming studio, what were some of the biggest lessons you had as just an individual? Obviously, you're a pretty young entrepreneur. More from the entrepreneurial standpoint, what were some of the lessons you had during that period?
Honestly, like it was all about learning for me because I was quite challenged like when I was running my own game studio, because I think when I started it should be like 2019. I was 21 or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, like if you think about it, you are at that age and stuff are growing very, very fast. And like for a long time, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, right? So it was all about learnings. But long story short, I think in the end, I learned a lot from failures more than like successes, because we failed so many times. I had so many like I know heartbreaks, and like because I believed in a lot of different games. I was sure every time, oh, this one's gonna work out, and it didn't. And then at some point, like a random game idea you get from an old game, it just works out, right? So I think the biggest lesson for me was having a business plan is a must when you're building up a game, even if you are designing something. Like when you're designing a game, the first thing you should be thinking about is obviously what the game's about and what the core mechanic is, like what's the progression look like and stuff like that. But I realize, especially in Web3, some people are missing the core aspect. Like, how am I gonna actually monetize and scale this game? If you don't have those answers, you are not able to, you will not be able to integrate it or have it in your game basically. Like if you don't have an idea of how you're gonna market your game or how you're gonna monetize your game, it's it's very hard to edit to the game after a while because the game's already out, the designs are already there. So I think that's a big challenge. And like that's probably one of my biggest learnings. So right now, if I'm thinking about a product, I have the product idea. My instinct is to first think about, okay, how am I going to scale this? Because for example, let's say I want to rely more on organic marketing, like word of mouth stuff, right? And I'm making a game. Okay, then I should probably include like a referral system in the game, or I should probably use like a common meme at the moment and have like a little surprise in the game or some shit like that. You know, I'm just trying to find some hooks.
Trying to find the virality moments.
Exactly.
Get guerrilla marketing.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
Such.
But you need to think about it from day one.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't come after. That's the biggest learning I had.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. I think definitely on the monetization side of things is that I think it's one of the biggest challenges for Web3 games in the way that, like we say, their current main monetization models are through digital asset sales instead of within like actual spend within the game. And primarily anyone who's buying those digital assets is doing it as a speculative approach. They're not buying it for the in-game assets. And a lot of times they're not in-game assets. They're NFTs. They get our token gated, like our access to tokens. And it's kind of that flywheel that we've seen a lot of. But on the, like, you made a lot of learnings from like the Web2 gaming perspective of like the business models that worked and also the game side of thing and how much you have to pivot. What were some of the commonalities that you saw in the games that you personally saw success in? Was there any lessons that you saw in terms of trends that games needed a certain thing to be able to find that virality?
Yeah. So as I told you, like when I was making my own games, it was my own game studio. We were making mobile games, right? And like very simple ones. And these were mainly ad monetized games back then. I was changing though. Like now you have lots of hybrid models, but anyway, they were ad monetized. So and free games as well. So like the biggest target when we were trying to think of a game concept was marketability and potential virality. So actually everyone, including us back then, spent lots of time on like TikTok, Instagram Reels, and trying to find hooks. Like for example, one of the biggest hits back then was like an ASMR game, random, like a soap cutting game, right? Because it was like booming at the time, and some random guy, they just made like a simulator of it, like you're literally holding a knife and moving a knife in the game, and you're cutting some soap, and then. And they had like a super low CPI, like a super low cost per install. And then they started pushing it like crazy. I'm talking about tens of millions in downloads in like a matter of weeks. Right? So I think that's how we navigated things. So, and I'm trying to do the same in Web3. And I think some people are doing it very well too. For example, when the whole AI agents in crypto started booming, lots of people started building shovels and they were relatively successful and stuff like that. So I think this is why it's important to like you need to have a pulse on the market. We all have great ideas, like I'm sure you too, like I also have great ideas, but it's always easier to either replicate something existing in the market and improve it, which is what I did with my game idea, or you see a current opportunity and because you want to be successful, you have to build it fast and then you're like in the correct time in the market. I think those two just increases your chances to be successful.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's an interesting wave of not just like gaming, but like just consumer apps that we see now of like basically they're second wave consumer apps, and they're taking learnings of concepts that worked really well in 2021, but they maybe didn't have a sustainable economy, or there was like one piece missing, but those products found product market fit for that period. They just couldn't have the longevity, and now we're seeing like second waves of those come to market, and it seems to be performing a lot better, and it's kind of why we starting to see a consumer app kind of push from like the likes of Polymarket, Hyperliquid, everything like that. Outside of gaming specifically, what are some of the niches that are interesting you the most in Web3, and what do you think can drive that so-called adoption into crypto?
So I'm going to be very honest here, right? So if I take a look at the current market here, like for example, let's do an exercise. Let's list the types of actually sustainable companies or actually sustainable products. Like what comes in your mind? Polymarket,
Pump Fun.
Yeah, like these are the biggest two right now.
Yeah.
And then exchanges, like also different exchanges.
Yes.
Some DeFi protocols or like tool providers, stuff like that.
Stable coins.
stable coins, right? Like then like what I'm talking about right now just shows us one thing actually. People are focusing more on the financial side of things. That's number one, and that's where the interest are in like right now. At the same like and at the same time, obviously there is this stream of mass adoption, but right now we are seeing these use cases and seeing the sustainable companies, and they maybe have lower amounts of actual users, like the pump fund raising 600 million. I think it was like 15K people, right?
Yeah.
It's actually an insane metric if you think about it. Like from a product or a business perspective, yes, I want to have millions of users, but usually those millions of users don't make you or raise you 600 million.
It's a small cohort of high spenders and high
Exactly.
thins. Like I think even you see a lot in sports consumer apps. Like it's like 40,000 people that drive all of the revenue for the company. And that can be millions in
Yeah.
a month.
Which
It's
is insane,
insane.
right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's a great thing actually. It shows us a green light to focus on. So that's why I'm just gonna like separate my thoughts in two different parts. Actual world and then imaginary world, right? So the actual world is there are lots of high spenders, and we already know what they want. If you are hanging around in CT for a while, you will know what they are talking about, right? So that's why my first focus would be gambling. My biggest bet in crypto, 100%. I think especially this industry is actually called iGaming professionally, which is I think a name to make it cuter.
Yeah.
Probably something like that. But for iGaming companies, which can be casinos, which can be payment providers, game providers, it's also a huge industry, by the way. More like bigger than gaming and entertainment, actually. Like it's huge. And this infrastructure can provide a lot to them. And it's actually already providing too. But like think of treasury bankrolls, think of easier payment rails, especially like cross countries, because they usually get locked in and people go ahead and play with a VPN and stuff like that. So you can find solutions for lots of different stuff, or like you want to be more transparent and stuff like that, if users care, of course. So I think there's a big opportunity for them, 100%. You can check MetaWin, for example, an on-chain casino, I think on Solana. They also launched their own like token and stuff like that, and they're massively successful. Or you can just go on like Dune.com and like check Stake.com's charts right now, like how much money they're making. It's insane levels. So it unlocks a lot for them, both for the users, because the users are already inclined to gambling, and actually most of the iGaming companies use crypto. So that would be my biggest bet. I don't know what you think about it.
No, I agree. I think fundamentally speculation apps are where we're seeing the most adoption. And I think it's not just Web3, I think it's Web2 as well. Like I think a lot of streamers you see, like streaming culture is obviously growing massively from a content creator perspective. Loads of streamers are delving into that style of content because it provides moments of virality, right? Like you see so many creators become famous because all they did was like, even like you go back like 5 years, FIFA pack openings. They became viral because of FIFA pack openings. And it's not gambling to the same extent, but it's like still the opportunity of luck. Still the opportunity of luck of what they might get. And that kind of content has always been something that's performed really well. So creators are going further down that. And then naturally consumers who adore these creators are following suit as such. So I think both Web2 and Web3 audiences love it. And that's why we're seeing these platforms do so well. It's because naturally there's demand for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I think somehow we're trained for it. I have an article in my Medium. I really suggest you to read it. It's called like "We Are Gamblers." It's where in that article I'm talking about how gambling elements are actually used in our day-to-day apps, from simple stuff just like refreshing your feed on Instagram to how Uber keeps their drivers motivated. I talk a lot about them. Like it's very interesting. Like I think this we are fundamentally sort of being trained for it, and especially if you're a gamer, like 100% you came across a loot box or something like that, man. Like there is no escape.
And how much do you think is a part of culture now where people like obviously short-term dopamine is such a huge thing? Like everyone wants short-term dopamine. Like, and it's only like the valve on it is only becoming stronger. Like the opportunities for like higher intensity dopamine for the average person is like they're just becoming more frequent and more opportunities for it, whether it's through food or whether it's through entertainment. How much do you think that is like very much what's driving this behavior?
Yeah, like honestly, I think that's also a huge part. Like, I think as a generation, our like dopamine receptors are at the point where we can't go back anymore.
Yeah.
Like literally, like also like it's the same for my attention span and everything. I'm absolutely the same, and I'm just getting bored from everything. Like instantly, I'm not able to watch films. I think it's gonna get even worse because everything that's around us is pushing lots of dopamine. Even the content we consume, like you said, like the games, they all use this tactics because they have to.
It's the most powerful one, right?
Yeah,
It's the
it's the
most
most
powerful
powerful one.
one. It's
It's
actually
direct.
it's
Yeah.
direct, and it's the best way to retain users, and it's like it's a level of addiction in many ways.
Yeah, I don't know where
Um,
this will go, honestly. Like, I'm at like, we are at the point where I'm not even using my brain as much because of how
use
much I use it.
ChatGPT.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't know, honestly. Like, I probably we are rotting ourselves somehow, but hey, from a business perspective,
Yeah.
there are lots of things that we have cracked the code of like user experience, and how you can keep and retain your users more and make them spend more. So I'm kind of down for it from a business perspective. It's what it is.
But how do you see it from a societal perspective? Because obviously, especially on the AI side, I think the AI side has been fascinating to me over the last like year or so. Like starting with the early days of ChatGPT, I was like, oh, this is cool, this is good. Now we see VO3, and
Yeah.
that's like that content is more entertaining than any content creators I watch, and it's
Yeah.
like there's a level of dopamine I'm getting from those that I'm just not getting from everything else.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, we're going down the route of like you'll basically have your own TikTok feed that is literally curated just for your brain, delivering you content that knows exactly what you want. And it's like it's only gonna get better. It's like till it's like so perfect that like you literally can't put a phone down. Like that is fundamentally the possibility of where it could go, right? But there's also a lot of positives to it, which we can go into after. But
Yeah.
how are you feeling about the whole AI developments from all aspects, the good and the bad?
Yeah. So like I think for me, like I always have more like a maxi stand to it, for example. So I have two big bets, which are, which it might be stupid, but I'm telling it to everyone, so fuck it. Um, I think my first uh, thinking is I believe that in about 3 years, I think English will be the biggest coding language. That's my biggest bet, and I'm feeling very confident about it because of my own experience. And the second thing is, in 5 years max, we will either have like a big employment crisis or it will be heaven. Like I don't think there will be a point in between. That's how
Yeah,
I feel like right now, to be honest.
it's because most jobs will just get replaced through AI.
Yeah, I think so because it's super efficient. Like everything's super efficient. Like from again, even like I don't think we would think about this like 3 years ago that I would be watching AI created content, but I
Yeah.
love them.
Yeah.
Like the glass cutting ones, the polar bear vlog. Oh man, like the gorilla. That's one of my favorite. But like it's seriously like it's everywhere. It's getting it's growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I don't know what the limit is, and I don't think there is any. So
Do you think that there's a element of human authenticity that will hold larger weight in the future? Like, do you think it then becomes a thing of like for instance, handmade bags or handmade clothes or handmade design stuff has such high value because it still has human craftsmanship to it. Do you think the same thing's going to happen for content and some of these other angles?
maybe, but like what I feel like I think the old things will be more valuable. That's what I feel in a future day. At the same time, if it keeps at this level in terms of acceleration and like getting closer to AGI, I think the biggest breakouts will be in more like in science.
Yep.
So I don't think we will care much about it at that point because of the technology and how fast everything will start to change. That's what I feel like. I think everything else, like from content, like or like copyright and stuff like that, will be just a small discussion. Because if it goes at this speed and everyone is competing with each other, I don't really think anyone is caring about safety of AI or something at this
Yeah.
moment. So if we keep going this fast, I I think I have no idea what we'll be discussing, but I'm sure it won't be like
Yeah.
that stuff.
And how does that lead back for you personally from a purpose perspective? I think fundamentally, because like most people, so say like 20, 30 years ago, maybe a little bit further before that, it was religion was like a huge focus and that was like their purpose. Many people live their life to religion and some people still do, but that definitely has changed over the decades. Now it's very much people work very hard for money and that's kind of the purpose that's driven in modern day, I would say, at least from my perspective.
Yeah.
You lose your work and it goes to like a standard income for everyone. What happens, do you think, for people's purpose?
Well, honestly, like, I don't even think if we would have a standard income at some point. It's like everyone's best guess,
Yeah.
but I don't think world is that pink and nice.
Yeah.
I don't think it would happen, honestly, because companies will be able to benefit so much. Like I expect to see one, two, three people companies making billions in revenue and everything. Like, so I think like fundamentally, like there will be some economic changes that we are not even aware right now. I don't know what will happen. I think that's the first thing. But I think like other than that, um, the the impact of AI is like we are always obviously focusing on employment. What are we going to do with the rest of our times, and how we will navigate in a world like that. But if it actually captures a lot of the workforce, the first thing that comes to mind is okay. Now we have more time to do what we enjoy: art, music, and
Yeah.
cinema. Like I don't think it will be a pink world like that.
Yeah.
I think there will be just a huge crisis.
But what does that look like?
I don't think anyone imagined this before. And like we can imagine, but it's just hard to guess. But I would say, um, I don't think governments and companies will be happy for universal income or something like that. They will just keep growing.
Yeah.
The profits will increase, but in the end, everyone needs some revenue to spend, right? So it can hurt the economy in both ways if you think about it. If people lose jobs, so I think we will see like AI is actually being the spenders, buying stuff from each other, like sort of maybe a sub economy or something like that. I think like 100% that will happen because I can show you our Slack right now. I have a team of sort of 4 agents, very simple setup using N8N. When we are researching a project for an investment and we need due diligence, I just use it because all of them do a separate thing. Like one of them analyzes all the on-chain metrics, is connected to Dep Radar, CoinMarketCap, and like the Explorer, so it just double checks all the wallets and see if everything's good and stuff like that. The other one is connected to like Crunchbase, LinkedIn, gets everything done. Anyway, these bots are already talking to each other on a Slack channel now.
Yeah.
Like they are already doing a team's job,
Yeah.
and they do super fast and they do super detailed.
And so diligent. Like they don't miss a detail.
Exactly. And I have a link for everything if I want to double check. If they get stuck, they ask me, which is also insane. Like that's my last
They're
update.
literally your staff.
Yeah, like literally. Like after like I started realizing this more and more and more. I have no idea what's gonna happen. But if the world is going to end this way, fuck it, I'm happy for it.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting and fun at least.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Okay, so would you say you're a pessimist or an optimist when it comes to AI?
I would say I'm an optimist. I think I just don't trust humans, honestly, I would say. Even myself, if I was a top CEO at a company right now and I knew I could make billions if I just use more AI and I could let 80% of my staff go, I would probably do it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I would probably do it. And that's why I don't think a very nice world is waiting for us. So I'm optimistic about AI being something amazing, sentient or whatever you call it, that we don't even expect right now. And the second thing, just but at the same time, I don't think it will be a nice world. At least for the start.
Yeah, interesting. I think it's like a lot of these tech booms tend to have a similar perspective. I mean, people had similar opinions on social media, and sure, that did age negatively in many ways, but also aged positively, and it didn't end the human species. Don't get me wrong, AI is a much more powerful tech, and it's like nothing like we've ever seen before. But I think you have to live an optimist life, otherwise it is you can easily fall into a dark and doomly mindset if
Yeah.
you just like look at the negative potential impacts of AI. But how deep are you into the AI and Web3 side of things? Do you think there's a good synergy between the two?
So I'm more like I'm quite deep in both spaces actually separately. Like there could be some synergies for sure. Like especially if you are thinking about building out smaller tools. Again, let's think about the current users and their needs, right? For example, let's say there's a trader and his whole focus is doing some arbitrage and he's trying to stay up to date on price on every market. He wants to fill in orders faster. He wants to plan for the future and then get like real-time insights or sort of coaching. Like he could just use an AI agent to do that. Like he can plug it in everywhere. So stuff like that. So you can build smaller tools, and trust me, you can sell them already. Like that's what surprised me about the Web3 space. Everyone is trying to build something random and cool, which is great, but there are no-brainer ideas already. Like there are so many pain points or not pain points. There's some stuff that you can improve today, like literally today, and you can already sell it. Like, let's say you have a subscription price of like $50. If you find 100 people to use it, which you can easily find from traders,
Yeah.
it's 5K.
Yeah.
And like this is what my focus is. So in terms of that, yes, like I definitely see some like nice use cases of it. But the whole like AI agent stuff, I don't know. It was cool. It was quirky. Like them like launching their own tokens, trading and stuff like that. It's very fun. It's also fun to speculate. So
Yeah.
maybe we could call that a use case as well because it was a speculation tool in the end. Like it
And it was a
wasn't.
crowdfunding tool as well. Like
Yeah.
it crowdfunded AI ideas. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, like let's just AI sport betting bot.
Absolutely.
And then like people it just crowdfunded it. And these
Yeah.
devs then have the money to try it out. Don't get me wrong, I think the biggest issue is a lot of teams and founders getting too much money too early in the space.
Yeah.
They get the money before they hit the success. And I think it's like reverse to what you see in Web 2. Normally it's Web 2 is you hit grits, and then you get all the money with the success.
Absolutely.
Whereas it's so overinvested that like a lot of these founders, and the same thing you see, like they'll TGE or their token will come out before the product will come out. There'll be a moment of, I guess, satisfaction for them from a financial perspective. And yeah, I honestly think that's probably been the biggest detriment, especially to Web3 gaming, in my opinion, is like they just weren't hungry. Like they didn't have to be hungry. They could have decent salaries, and they became very wild with where they spent the money. It was never like, okay, we have to do this to survive. It was then like, oh, we got like 20 mil, 30 mil. We can go around and like, we can try this. It was never like, it wasn't accurate enough in my opinion with the funding. And I still think it's a big issue in the space, but I guess it's just the nature of the space we're in. What is your view on the funding and the fact that founders get money kind of before they hit a great product as such?
Yeah, I think first of all more games need to die. Like they're already dying in Web3, but also in Web2. But like more games need to die. That's the number one thing. I think there were just lots of stupid funding being thrown around, but it was actually smart money if you think about it, because lots of like Web3 VCs, they also made hell a lot of money. Like the games that were out, they weren't even successful, but obviously all of them had like a token, and these VCs had allocations and they made their money in the end. So did the game developers most of the times. So if you think about like a pure monetary perspective, then you could say they were probably more successful than an average Web2 game studio.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of pure revenue, right? Again, I'm not saying it's ethical or non-ethical,
Yeah.
just pure revenue. That's why it crippled the industry itself. And then the second thing is, I've also like seen game studios getting funding before actually having the game. If it's an experienced team, you would do it. Like if you see some like high level OpenAI employees starting a startup, I think you would just run out and throw money together. Like right now, I would leave this podcast.
Yeah, I would
and start running
take my
it.
money.
Just take everything, man. Like,
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think it's the same thing when it comes to like funding. But other than that, again, the biggest mistakes, everyone is going obviously for like tokens and NFTs, which are really cool, but unfortunately also something that we need to think about. And then also the grant sides, man. Like the chains are, most of them, they gave some outrageous amounts of money, and in terms of nothing, basically just integrate with our chain or be exclusive to us, and here's your 3 million.
Yeah.
That's the most stupid thing. Like it's crazy, and they don't even get equity or anything. Right?
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, and then obviously as a game studio, you're like, all right,
Why not? I'll take
Yeah,
the
why
3
not?
mil and I'll
Yeah.
go build there.
yeah, exactly. And then if it doesn't work out, I would just switch chains, risking my project. That's what happens.
What do you think needs to be fixed for Web3 gaming to go into a better direction? So like obviously you mentioned the grant side of things, the funding side of things. Like what do you think are some of the key areas that we need to see improvement on in order to start to see a more positive light for Web3 gaming?
I think first of all of the chain foundations need to stop throwing money to compete. But I think this will keep happening again.
But how, yeah, then like they kind of have to, right? If they're in a competitive world and their success is perceived on the quality of apps in their ecosystem,
Exactly.
it kind of again
need
the
good
financial
content.
the financial incentive all aligns into that. If they want their token to do well, they have to have good apps on their ecosystem, and it kind of flywheels that way.
Yeah, I guess so. I think that's absolutely right. But at the same time, usually these grants happen even for like not so much successful games.
Yeah.
And I just don't like, also like you see a studio, they have like, let's say 30K users, probably 80% bots, and they already have like an NFT collection and some tokens on chain 1, and they're talking to chain 2, and they're like, oh, we're gonna market everything, it's gonna be fine for our users. Bro, it's like you are treating them as like your slaves, like literally. So in a way, like you are right. I think chains need more content, but the money needs to get smarter. Although it couldn't be just like one chain's decision. It needs to be mutual. Because if one chain keeps competing and throwing money, then they will steal all the content.
Yeah.
Which is actually I have a Telegram channel called, shout out to them right now, Multi Chain Mafia. That's what it's a cringe name, but they're like basically 10 people from 10 different chains or something like that, all executives, all work in gaming, and sometimes we talk to each other when we get like a project a grant request. I was like, hey, these guys look quite dodgy and they were on your chain before. What do you think? And they're like, oh, don't give them any money. They were on this chain before.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I think that's one thing. So, smarter money. And then, second thing, we just need to see an actually sustainable product. I'm dying to see one.
Yeah.
Just one product coming from a passionate indie developer, 1-2 guys.
Yeah.
It can be a DeFi focused game, like an idle game, entirely focused on DeFi, entirely focused on trading, just focused on today's users, those 15K people with 600 million.
Have you looked into like Play Gigaverse and everything like
No, I
that?
haven't, no,
That'd be a good one. I'd recommend. Led by like started off very indie and still is very indie. But that's a they're doing really well from like even like doing good revenue, and I'd recommend having a look at that one.
I'll check.
But yeah, do you think the success from Web3 gaming specifically will come from indie over like having like these huge teams come to the space?
I think the huge teams can make it too, but it's much harder. Like especially if you think success is mass adoption, I would say. But other than that, I would say like we need both types of bets. We need both indies and AAAs, that size of games. Right now, if you take a look at the general gaming market on PC and console, indies are actually on a growth right now, on a growth trajectory. Until GTA 6 comes and everything will be destroyed.
I was doing something today. It's like it is going to like destroy every entertainment industry because everyone is going to be on that server the second it goes live.
Like literally everything, by the way, not even games. So first of all, you will not be able to launch any games next year. Like, that's done. It can be the best game in the world. Doesn't matter right now. And also, for entertainment as well, man.
Yeah, it's going to dominate. It'll be interesting if it's good. There's a lot of pressure. Like we're all assuming it's going to be the best game in the world. Like,
imagine working at Rockstar right now. You know, like
stress. How do you top the best game ever made? Arguably, like,
and people have been waiting for years.
Yeah, literally the expectations could not be higher. And if we look at that from like a Web3 perspective, never ends well. Never ends well when expectations are that high.
Exactly. Yeah, let's see. Like, so that's obviously very interesting. But yeah, in the end, I think we need both, long story short. But what we 100% need is, I would say, products that are focused on today's crypto users. I'm tired of trying to onboard normies. I'm literally tired of it. I think most of it is bullshit. Right? So, like, why won't we just focus these 15K people? Because they have 600 million in the bank that they're happy to spend.
Yeah.
So, just focus on these people. Like, again, you can think about what does a trader like? Make a trading sim game. Something like that. Like, stuff like that. And that's what we are trying to do internally as well, by the way.
Interesting. And how are you guys approaching it particularly? Are you creating your own in-house games, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I think it's also about the AI stuff a bit as well. Two things. So obviously we are still doing like lots of grants and investment, mainly not grants actually. We are focused more on equity investment. I would say we have a more VC like approach right now because foundations need to sustain as well, right? That's always my recommendation in the end. I hate grants. I stopped it the moment I sort of started this role. Other than that, we also have a small team. They were actually just like support engineers. We had like one engineer for like Unity game engine, and in the beginning of the year, we launched a product called Uranium AI, which is super interesting. It's like an RWA product where you can buy tokenized uranium. But by the way, I think that's a very cool use case as well. It's quite nice. So you have another way of buying uranium. Actually, you don't have a way today. If you're like, you have to buy like an ETF that includes lots of uranium companies, or you need to be loaded basically. But you can buy like $1 worth of uranium today. I think it's very cool. But anyway, they were struggling to get users. They were struggling to scale. So we needed to do something. And marketing wasn't working well. We tried paid marketing and everything, but the user amounts were still very low. And what do you do in Web3 in that scenario? You run an incentive program. Like that's usually the first thing that comes into mind, which works. And it generates lots of noise. So I had this idea of like of creating like mini game where you have like uranium factory and stuff like that. I just had the rough game idea. So I was like, anyway, I've been using Cursor for a while. I'm not even like technical, but let me try this with this AI code generator. I started doing it, and after like 4 or 5 days, I had an 80% done prototype. It was like already working. It was already fun. And I shared it with the team, and they were like, hey, what the hell? We need to do this. Like, it looks very cool. And then I came together with my dev, which is a Unity developer. And because AI is so good in TypeScript, I
Yeah.
developed the game in TypeScript. So
Yeah.
both of us, we don't know anything about
Yeah.
TypeScript. So, but we still did it. Like, we still worked on the game. We completed the game. And then our target was like getting 5,000 new signups and 5,000 users. 1 month later, it was about 300K.
Wow.
It was like insane because the referral system, it grew like crazy. Our server costs were going insane because of how much we use AI actually.
Yeah.
So we had to like loop in some actual developers help us out. But in the end, it was a great success, I would say. So today, the token is called XU308, and 76% of XU308 holders are coming from the game,
Wow.
which is an insane number. And our like the Twitter follower account jumped from 2K to 150 or so,
Wow.
which is like an insane success. And it costed us almost nothing
Yeah.
to do that because we use AI. So that's how it started. So right now, I'm replicating this with like multiple products. There's one more like similar project is coming. Again, gamification, using like building social engagement tools and stuff like that. But at the same time, on the side, we are building like a indie style project. Again, using shit ton of AI. We don't have any designers, nothing.
And is this try like so basically creating mini games to drive users and attention to other more serious tokens like RWAs or anything
Exactly.
like that?
Just using them as a marketing tool. That was the start of this sort of team. But now it's becoming more of an actual game studio, I would say, because we are building an actual game as well. But what we do is like, I literally have 2 devs right now. I'm going to increase it to 3 probably, and we're going to push over 6, 7 games a year.
Wow.
There's no other way. And it's just insane how easy it has gotten lately. Like, it's just insane. I know we have 3 people, but it's like we have 10, 15 maybe.
Yeah, just through
Because-
AI.
Yeah.
Interesting. And is that going with the approach that you used to do of ship, kill, ship, kill?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we do. Like, I don't even share it publicly out, but I'll just give you an example. So art on Tezos is still quite thriving, but there is no proper trading tools for art really. Like if you want to go deeper into that, in just normal tokens, you have like stuff like Dex Screener, like Bullx, like lots of tooling, right?
Yeah.
So I had this idea of doing the same for art NFTs, like specifically focused on those. With an idea called Art Screener, I had the idea. In one day, we built the prototype, literally just mock-ups of dashboard, these features would be that and stuff like that. And then a demo video. And then the day after, just using a half day, so 1.5 days, we launched a website with a live demo of the product and a wait list. That's what we did. It's still live probably. I need to kill it. Artscreener.io is the website. So what we did is, let's put it out. Let's see if it will get any signups. Let's do like a little bit of marketing. And it didn't got many like signups.
Yeah.
It was like, I think 300-400 or something like this. So we were like, okay, we don't need to do this right now. It's not the time. But this is what we do. Even like sometimes I don't even build the whole thing. Just
Yeah.
fake product, try to see if it works and kill it if it doesn't.
Interesting.
I think that's a good approach, I would say.
And how come you guys have gone down that route? Because obviously you're primarily an infrastructure company. Now
Yeah.
you're basically becoming your own studio. How does that, why did you go down that approach? Obviously was it because you found that one hit? Why not look to outsource it? What does that development look like for you guys?
I think like 2 things primarily. The first thing is the third party teams or like agencies or whatever you call them are super expensive, and you are always reliant on them, or they are not passionate. They are just there to get that chain's money or like extract liquidity from your chain and move it to another and stuff like that. That's what I've realized. Obviously, there are some amazing teams on Tezos that are also like supported by the Tezos Foundation. They're amazing, but I would say 95% are like grifters. Like they are sharks basically. You know those people from City.
Yeah.
Like it's very clear. That's why, like when we basically realized we can do maybe I'm paying maybe like 5% of the full cost of what we want to build, just with 5%, and we are able to scale it, and we sort of cracked the code on how to market this, because the marketing was also quite crazy. Like we did like mass DMs, spamming Telegram channels, like even crazy stuff like that,
Yeah.
like fake YouTube videos,
Yeah.
whatever you call it. We have like a swarm of AI content, like UGC creators that we
Yeah.
tried. Some of them worked, some of them failed. Anyway, like, so when we cracked the code, I was like, okay, like, why do I need to pay them right now? I can use these tools to feed other products because I want them to thrive.
Yeah.
Again, as I still don't think Web3 is 100% the best use case for gaming or something like that. I don't believe in that, even though I work in gaming. But what I believe is gaming is the best onboarding tool that you can have, or gamification, whatever you want to call it. So that's what I use to feed other products.
I feel like everything's becoming more gamified, and like people do love a layer of gamification on whatever they do, and that's I think why prediction markets are so good, is because like they basically gamifying traditional media, or they gamifying events. Will Trump lift his hand up? Like, you would never watch that, but it's suddenly interesting because you gamified it. It's like
It's fun now,
It
yeah.
is. It's fun. It's like you gamify it. Gamifying it just makes like things that wouldn't normally be fun.
Yeah.
Which is a fascinating world, but. Obviously, you guys recently announced Reaper Actual, and I'd love to go into that a little bit more. How did that all come to life, and how come them specifically? You mentioned you're pretty certain on kind of the games and studios you guys would want to work with. What kind of stood out with them?
So I would say the first thing is, as I mentioned, probably the founding team. So they have a very interesting team. The founder is John Smedley, which is a great guy. He was the president of Sony for 15 years, so quite the big background, and then head of Amazon Games for a while. Like he built quite cool titles, like MMOs basically his whole life, like Planetside, EverQuest, and stuff like that. So when they had this new game idea, and one of the wishes that we know very well, we're in for it. We started looking at it, and then it was very interesting to us. Like I think his dream, his vision is very very interesting. The game is already playable. It's a very very fun game. In the end, because how much they're focusing on UGC and modding, that's why I truly believe they might have a good use case for crypto. That's their first focus. Like their first focus is the game itself. But the second thing is the UGC marketplace, and then the UGC created items, user generated items basically. So that's what they want to use blockchain for, and this because it just helps them to monetize it easier than doing it on Steam. Like very logical. On Steam you can still do it, by the way, but then you will lose 30% of the revenue. That's number one. Number two, if anyone else creates a mod of your game, whatever, and they move it out of Steam and they move it out of a client, or the items itself, like third-party Counter-Strike trading sites, you lose all your revenue. You're not gonna get any revenue share. But because it's on chain, it's like permanent. That's why I think it's very interesting.
Interesting. So they're going they're going down a traditional game route, but what's built on top of it is built through
I'm fully
Web3.
optional, by the way. The Web3 side is completely optional in the game.
Interesting.
Basically. So we are not forcing anyone to use it. It's not the core part of the gameplay. Only if you want to trade items, if that's what you're in for, go for it.
And what makes you think that they can win versus the other similar games in Web 2? Because obviously they raised a good amount of money,
Yeah.
but not enough where you'd be able to go take on directly the Call of Duties and
Absolutely.
stuff like that. So how do you see that playing out?
I don't think it's easy for anyone to take out Call of Duty, even if you have like millions in budget. Like for example, New World from Amazon. I don't know if you know that game. It's an
Yeah.
MMORPG game. They probably spent over $1 billion, I would say, already,
Wow.
right? Like maybe not $1 billion, but I'm sure in like a few hundreds of millions, like easily, because Amazon it's an MMORPG game. It's not that bad even, but they are still not able to surpass World of Warcraft. That game is like older than me probably.
Yeah.
Or it's like so, so like stuff like that. So I would never say, oh, they're gonna kill Call of Duty or something like that. But if they're able to get like a 50K people, a core community, I would be more than happy. Just like Rust, for example.
Yeah.
They have like a very solid user base, but those people, they love the game.
Diehard fans in modern day is like having, like you say, 50K of just people who love it.
Yeah.
They're monetized. They'll spend like a couple hundred quid a month in that game, and that compounds very quickly.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think that's also something I've noticed the most with a lot of Web3 games, is like the biggest struggle is building that. I mean, obviously Web3 is beautiful because you can build a community early on and all that kind of stuff. But something a lot of these legacy brands have is the fact that they have a existing audience that already loves their IP, right? It's the same reason why we see sports games do pretty well in Web3. Like NFL Rivals done well because like you have millions or billions of fans that you can already target that already love that topic. And then it's just like, how good is the experience? Whereas a lot of these Web3 games are trying to create IP from scratch and build their cohorts. How do you think that they can specifically capitalize on that, of like being able to actually build a new IP and people become attached to that? Because like currently you see it pretty hard to compete with across like all genres of IP.
Yeah. Like I think that's a great question. I think in general, like creating an IP is very hard, right? Like especially like in terms of games. I think lately we just have a few examples of it. Like I could think of like Angry Birds or like Supercell's titles are doing
Yeah.
it quite well with some animations and stuff like that. They are trying to like move it out of the game and make it something even bigger. So first of all, like creating an IP is very hard. Again, your game needs to be successful first, and some people need to really like your game. They need to love it. They need to be all about like those 50K people. Then you
Die
can
hard.
turn it into an IP. Die hard. They just love everything about it. Um, that's the first rule. I think the second thing is using existing IPs in games are always a smart move. Obviously, you can attract that user base, those diehard people, because they will come for anything. Um, and it just opens like doors for additional revenue. And I think what Mythical Games did is also very smart in terms of um, they started with NFL rivals and now you have FIFA rivals. So they are like they figured out what's working and what's not with these sort of games and IPs. So they're replicating it.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm a big fan of and what I'm trying to do as well. I think that's the best way of reaching success, honestly. So yeah, it goes two ways. If you're gonna rent an IP, you need to know how to use it. If you figure it out, replicate a success. If you want to build your own IP, it's not as easy as it looks like. Good luck with that.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of, because NFTs and ownership, like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I do think Pudgy are doing an amazing,
Pudgy is doing a good job.
an
for sure.
amazing job. But like, I think that's because like there is a level of like, they're just masters at marketing and awareness, and like that is compounded over and over. And like now they do have their cohort of like 10,000 users. Obviously, there's like, loads more holders, but 10,000 people who are just diehard
Yeah.
Pudgy fans, and like they will represent it everywhere. Anything that comes out, they'll buy, and that's why when they're on the plushies, they bought, and like they've shown a really good example of it. But we haven't seen too many cases outside of that that have been able to master that same thing. But I think a lot of early gaming IPs in Web3 tried to. They thought they were going to be the next Fortnite or whatever this looked like, and I was like, yeah, don't.
Yeah, good luck, mate.
Yeah, I think it's a lot harder than they think.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. Honestly, like especially again if you're targeting like to beat those games and you
Yeah.
want to be in that arena, man, it's already hard to do it in Web 2. You are trying to do it with something that gamers already hate.
How do you see AI? Obviously, you're using AI for gaming a lot.
Yeah.
This obviously becomes a risk when investing in studios that are doing individual games, because the amount of games that are being produced every year is basically growing every single day. Like every single day, there'll be a higher number that's predicted for
Yeah.
the amount of games going to be released. Also, the lifespan of games is shortening massively, in the way that like it's like TikTok now. You see a game be a hit, but they don't actually tend to be able to contain that longevity as such. How do you view that, especially with like the games that you guys look to invest in, the games you guys look to create? Are you just embracing that short-term virality and then moving on to the next? How do you view that?
I think it really depends on the game genre. Like most of the indie games, they have short-lived content. For example, if you think of the latest trends on Steam, you will see simulator games on the rise, like lots of sims, like Supermarket Simulator. I've played a game called Schedule One. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, it's so good. You basically it's like a game where you grow your own weed and you basically be a drug dealer.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
man.
heard, my friends played it. Yeah, I haven't
Oh
played
man,
it.
it's so fun. It's insane. Like it's so good. But at the same time, even if you're a hardcore player, you will have like 30 hours worth of content and then you'll be done with that game.
Yeah.
So this means two things. First of all, it's very normal that some games will have short lives. That's very normal. The second thing is developer already gets the revenue when you
Yeah.
play the game. So I would say both sides are happy and satisfied in that scenario. And in terms of like the other games, there are only a few long-lived games, and they've been out there for years, and they are just very different. So I would say, for example, I think the best examples, League of Legends. It's a mobile game, it's a ranked games, it's different. Dota, same genre, and then you have CS:GO or CS, like they've lived for years. World of Warcraft, RuneScape, maybe. Like I think these five have been out there for many, many years. They are still generating revenue, but imagine, maybe there are, I don't know, there should be over 100,000 games in that in world, right? Like literally since the beginning of the game's history, there
Yeah.
should be at least like 100,000 games.
Yeah.
And only maybe 5 of them lived like 20 years and
Yeah.
made revenue. So that point is very hard to get. That's why we embrace it. That's what we hope from Reaper actually as well, because the game focuses on modding and UGC like Roblox and Fortnite, which I think they will be also very long-lived titles.
Yep.
So that's our bet in that scenario. But it's not the same for every game. And
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out. But as we come towards the end of the show, I normally ask two questions, slightly off topic, but what is one resource that you found most useful to yourself over the last few years? It can be a book, could be AI. Use certain
You know,
use certain AI tool. I can see your eyes light up with that. Yeah, from AI then that perspective, what specifically in your life have you found it most impactful for?
I'm gonna say AI again. I'm sorry. Like I
Yeah.
know I talk too much about this and just like everyone else, but I think it's true. Um, Again, I believe that English will be the biggest coding language in the next 3 years. So you need to get started now. If you haven't tried, you need to get on already. Like Cursor, Bolt.new, V0. Try all of them, and you will see what I mean. I mean, if there's any watcher out there right now and they're not sure about like if these things are real, trust me, it's real. If you have an idea, you can build a prototype for it that you can already start selling people to. So I think that's the first thing. It's changing my life. It keeps changing my life. I use it on a daily basis. I build lots of stuff that is very useful to me. So it unlocks multiple doors. So I would say that is the biggest thing. But other than that, I would add in a more general sense, I think having a mentor is what really changed something in me. I met my mentor when I was 21, when I had my own companies again. And he's a big shot in the gaming industry, but he opened so many doors for me. He teach me so many stuff. When I was stressful, he was the guy that I called and got an advice from. And I'm just very grateful to have that. I think everyone needs a person like that in their lives because just one handshake can change your life forever.
How do you find that mentor though? Because I think the biggest thing is like if you go searching for mentors, it
Yeah.
doesn't really happen that way. It kind of has to happen organically. What's advice you can give someone who wants a mentor but doesn't currently have one?
Well, my story was I was just spamming everyone on LinkedIn. Also, like,
So you're just gonna
like
get spammed now.
Yeah, no, I don't want to get spammed. But I will try my best to help everyone. I think it's important to give back. But yeah, I think that's actually a good way, man. Honestly,
Yeah.
so by the way, CT hates LinkedIn, but I think it's horrible. I know, but it's still one of the best networking tools. Like, if you are really passionate about something and you need some advice, there will be some good guys to try and help you out. They will spare like their 30 minutes with you
Yeah.
at least. And if you get like 30 minutes, then just show them your energy, show them what you can offer instead. And if they're a good guy and they like you and you find common points, they will help you out because in reality they will also get something back in the end. Whether it's like fulfillment, feeling fulfilled, they will feel good about it, or they trust in your vision and they know they might be sitting across the table with you one day and stuff like that. So whatever it is, man. But honestly, I think just the important thing is just look out for them.
No, I think that's great advice. The final question is just what you're most excited about in Web3 specifically in the next 6 months to a year.
Again, I would say seeing like first of all, the market is changing a lot. The governments are reacting in a way that we've never seen before. So I would say that's the most important and the biggest thing. And the second thing is I'm very excited for our own game, I would say, because it will be playable very soon and it's just very exciting for us. It will be very important for us as it's the flagship game on Etherlink. So yeah, I'm super excited about it. So these two, but the rest, again, I'm dying to see more and more sustainable companies.
That is, I think that's what we're all dying for. But
Yeah.
I have to ask, is there anything you can share about your flagship game? I know there's nothing fully thin. Is there any little bit of
Yeah.
information you can share on it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like our trailer is already live actually
Nice.
on IGN, so they can go and watch it. And at the same time, on the Reaper actual YouTube channel, there are some dev journals and stuff like that. I expect some movement around September about the game, some really exciting releases. So maybe I could just share that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for your time and really
Thank
looking
you.
forward to what you guys are cooking up.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, man.